I've got an idea. I'll share it with you. I hope that you like it much better than poo.
Welcome, intrepid travelers. My name is Philip, the Reasonable Game Master, and we're here today to talk about how to make your magic items more visually evocative. The idea that you can make your items more engaging, more iconic, more interesting to players, make them more excited about getting magic items by making the magic items have qualities or descriptions that make them very easy to imagine in the mind's eye. In Greek mythology, you have examples like the head of the Medusa, Hermes' winged boots, the golden fleece, right? These are all very iconic and intentionally so. The storytellers wanted you to be able to imagine them, to remember them, right? In the recent God of War game, Kratos carries around a head that gives him information and banters with the player, works as kind of a plot device. And then in Dice Camera Action, Chris Perkins gives Paulton, the bard, this magical hand that kind of walks around on its own, right? And it follows his mental commands, and he can use it as kind of an extra ring slot, which is pretty cool. So it's very interesting and useful, but not like super overpowered necessarily, right? But adds a lot of interest to the game and makes it kind of fun to have. And while these items are kind of artifacts, or maybe they're very tied to the plot in these other examples, in your game you can take kind of regular everyday magic items and kind of spruce them up and make them more interesting just by kind of adding qualities to them, or being a little more descriptive, or using narrative to make the way they're created make sense. So you have like a +1 shield, right? It's an upgrade, it's good to have, it's a bonus, but not super memorable, right? You're gonna write it down your sheet, but mostly you just want the arm class. But if it looks like a giant turtle shell, or maybe it's shaped like a beetle, or maybe it's made of, it looks like it's made of somehow solid water that it somehow attaches to your arm and you're not really sure how it works. It looks like the surface of it ripples like water, but when you touch it, it's flat. Really neat, right? But it's still just a +1 shield. By adding those elements, those qualities to it, it's a lot more interesting. You can also do, a lot of these things are very on the nose, but you know, you can have a cloak of poison resistance that looks like snakeskin, right? It's shiny, it's got scales, interesting. You could have a amulet of trucing or gem of trucing that's actually the eye of a creature that has true sight. You could have a ring of water breathing that is either made of shell or has like a shell on the face of it. And then sometimes you have other items that don't really need to be made cooler for the players to want them. Just about every game I've ever heard of, the players have eventually gotten their hands on a bag of holding, right? And everyone has a bag of holding. No one really cares too much what they look like, except to know how big they are, how much stuff they can fit in there, right? But what if you wanted to make that a little more memorable? You could easily do that by giving it kind of a weird shape or construction. One of the things I imagined was the frog's mouth that like opens incredibly wide when you reach in to grab an item, or when you put an item into it. And if you want to add a little twist, that'll be kind of interesting, but could be a slight drawback in some situations, but other times it'll add a lot of flavor. The idea that when you reach into it, it croaks every time the mouth opens. And so it makes using it during stealth very difficult, but it's kind of funny and interesting. And so very memorable, and it's a very small twist. Adding visual appeal is not just interesting and good for the players, but as a DM, you can use it as a reason that the players are recognized. A warrior that carries around a turtle shield and has an eye around his neck is going to be easy to spot. And this creates a situation where maybe if they don't want to be noticed, if they're trying to infiltrate somewhere, where they need to possibly leave the items behind, or you know, magically conceal them, or just conceal them somehow. So depending on the theme, your setting, the tone of your game, kind of wondrously created items or like things with like weird designs might not fit in your game, or you might maybe you give out a lot of items and you don't really want to do the work for every single item, right? You can just focus on kind of the items that are important to the plot, important to, as that you intend specifically as rewards for players, so that they'll kind of recognize that this is special. On the other hand, if your players are a little bit jaded about getting magic items, maybe they're getting a little bored with it, they're not as excited when they find something, you know, this might be a nice way to spice things up. So that's it for this video. I hope you found something interesting or useful. If you did, like down below, and you can also leave a comment about why you liked it. If you disliked it, please dislike the video and leave a comment below telling me why, so I can provide better content, maybe something is more useful, you know. Also down below, I've got a Google Doc that you can make suggestions to, and that has a list of some items that I've used in the past, and some of the items I've mentioned, with some suggestions of just a handful of items of something you could do to kind of spice them up with a little flavor, right? And then if you have any questions, if you have any items that you'd like to spruce up that you maybe can't immediately think of a reason why, or maybe you just like some extra suggestions to have just a bigger pool to choose from, feel free to comment below and I'll be glad to, try to come up with some ideas with you. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you're having a good day. And remember, be reasonable and have fun.